Well, hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, we're making a dragonfly. Well, this project came about because I saw something that was thrown to the curb and I thought, how can we recycle this? And this idea came about that I thought it could be a fun little project, and while this doesn't make much sense what I'm saying right now, it will make sense as the project carries on. So we're going to head over to the bench and start out with some layout, but the first thing that we need to start this project is a piece of pine 3/4 of an inch thick, 3 inches wide, and 20 inches long. Well, the first thing that we want to do with our board is to do a little bit of layout. So first things first, we're going to give a center line all the way along the length of our piece. And now at this point, you want to decide which end is your head, which end is your tail. I'm going to do this end here as my head and this end as my tail. So starting at the head, we need to measure down 2 1/4 inches and just place a mark. Coming up from our tail, we will place a mark at 11 inches. And then from that 11-inch mark going up towards the head, we're going to place another mark at 2 1/2 inches. And then at each one of those points, we'll just place a square line just lightly across our board. Now these represent the rough sections of our dragonfly. So we still have some more marks to do, and we're going to start off with the tail. So the first thing you want to do is down at the tail, we want to measure out from our center mark 1/2 inch on either side, making the base of our tail 1 inch wide. And then 11 inches up at this next mark, we're going to do the same thing, except this time instead of 1/2 inch out, we're going to come out 9/16. So this will be just a little bit wider than our 1 inch. And then at that point, we can join those two lines together. Now at this next section right here, we're going to measure from our center line out on either side at 7/8 of an inch. And we will place a mark at each point there. And then we will do the same thing at this line. And just like we did in this lower section, we'll place a mark joining those points. Now that should give you a piece in the center that is 1 3/4 inches wide. So now we're going to move on to our main body. And there's really nothing to measure because our main body will be 3 inches wide, as will the widest point of our head. So now we need to start kind of finagling things around and making this look more like a dragonfly body. And in order to do that, I'm going to need some French curves. Well, we're going to start with the main body, and I've shown you guys this trick before using masking tape on your French curves. I've lined it up where I think will be a good kind of profile for our body up at the top end here, and I'm just going to place a piece of masking tape looking through the French curves onto our center line. As well as there, I'm going to do it the same thing with a piece of masking tape, and we're going to place it across one of the other lines. It doesn't matter which one, pick one for a point of reference. I'm going to pick this one down here, where it separates the body sections. And then all I want to do now is I'm going to take the French curves, I'm going to draw this profile, just like that, and then you can reverse it, lining up your tape marks and you should be able to get, by lining up those tape marks, an exact symmetrical pattern. Just like that, mirror image. And we're going to do the same thing now at the bottom of its body there, but we need to reset our French curves. So I'm just going to decide how I want this. I think that looks pretty good, and we're going to do the exact same thing. We can reuse these pieces of tape, and I will place it along this line here. Now I don't have a second line that's really visible, so I'm going to use the edge of the board. And that's going to help us line up those curves. So I'll just make this mark here, like that, flip this over. We'll line up our tape with the edge of the board and with the edge of that line, just like we had here before. And we can trace that line. Piece of masking tape is in our way, just fold it out of the way. There we go. And again, symmetrical. Okay, so that's our body piece done. So we now want to shape this section right here. It's the same kind of thing. We just need to get a little bit of a curve on it. So I'm just going to line it up. I'm not sure how, but in the same process, using the tape, we will draw the profile of this section of our body. We now want to mark out the sections of the tail. So I'm going to measure down from this line here down 3 inches, place a mark. 2.5 inches from there, place a mark. 2 inches from there, place a mark. And then 2 inches from there, place a mark. And then whatever is left at the end will be left at the end. Now these ones here aren't so critical, so I'm just going to pick a circle template here. Not even sure what size. I'm going to say 3/8. And at each one of these lines that we just drew, I'm going to make a separation there by placing back-to-back roundovers with this circle template. Just like that. Can you see that? So we've defined the section. We're going to do that at each one of these to define our tail and our tail sections. Just like that. And then at the end, what we're going to do is we're going to take a 1-inch circle template, and just somewhere at the end of this here, we're just going to make a little ball that sticks out. Like that. Well, the last piece to make or to sketch out here is going to be the head. So the first thing we want to start off with is right at the tip of our head, right here, we're going to use a 1¼ inch circle template, and right at the tip we're going to draw a 1¼ inch circle. We will do the exact same thing over here on this side, lined up with the edge, with that line there, and the edge of our board. Another circle here, and then the same thing on this side. And then what we can do is take a ruler and we will join these two sections here. You know what? I don't really like that. It's too boxy. It is way too boxy. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to use my French curves and change this up just a little bit. So we're going to line up our tape here to give us a reference line, and then another piece of tape here for our cross line, and then we'll draw this in place. Oh yeah, that's much better. I like that better. Okay, and we'll do the same thing on this side. Okay, well that there, my friends, is our dragonfly body basically drawn out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over to the scroll saw and cut it out. And there would be the body of our dragonfly. But I'm going to turn my attention to the wings now. And what could I have found thrown to the curb that I could have possibly thought would work for dragonfly wings? Well, it's ceiling fan blades. Somebody threw out a ceiling fan. The motor was obviously toast, so I thought we could reuse the blades. So the very first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove this bracket, and I'm going to sketch out on this one blade the shape of the dragonfly wing, because right now this doesn't look much like a dragonfly wing. So let me get that sketched out and I'll show you what I come up with. And I've come up with something that looks like this. Now it looks pretty rough, I know, but I'm going to take this over to the scroll saw and I'm going to cut this out as best as I can and try to smooth it out. This will actually become a template for the other wings. I have 5 blades from the fan. 1 will be a template, the rest will be the actual wings. So I'm going to get this cut and I'll see you when I get it done. And this is the shape that I've come up with for our dragonfly wing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace this onto 2 of our fan blades, remembering that this is the template, so you need to reverse it so that you get the white side facing out. We don't want the wood grain on the outside. So I'm going to trace out 2 of these and cut them at the scroll saw, and I'll see you when I get that done. And that is 1 set of wings done. Now a dragonfly has 4 wings in this case, so I need to make 2 more of these. So the same as we did before, I'm going to trace it onto 2 more fan blades using our template that we cut here, remembering to make a left and a right wing. Give these things as well, once you're done cutting, give them a good sanding all the way around the edges to take off any of the rough edges from cutting. And I will see you when I get those other 2 wings done. Well, with those wings cut, we're just going to divert our attention here back to the body, and we're going to place a mark 4 inches down from the top of the head. I'm going to center punch that, and we'll drill that for a mounting hole. Now, as soon as we get that done, we can give the whole body a good sanding. Well, it's now time to mount our wings onto our body. I've given it a good sanding, and I've kind of rounded off the sharp edges here on the outside. Now, the way that a dragonfly's wings get mounted here on this is this section right here where the head meets the body. That little nook, the top of our wing, is going to align with that. But the problem that we've got is that each one of these fan blades has this little nub that sticks up there that gets right in the way. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my angle grinder and I'm going to take that little nub out of each one of these wing brackets. Alright, so the edge of our body here is still a square edge. So I'm going to use a square, line it up at the edge of the bench here so that the body is square just like that. And what I'm going to do is line up my wing so that it is aligned with the edge of the bench right along the top of the wing, and that will line up the top of the wing with where the head meets the body. So I'm just going to position this bracket, and once I'm happy with the one in its position, I'm going to mark those holes. Now, because that body is still square on the edges, I can just place a square there and shoot a line right across, and it will show me the position for our other wing. Just like that. So I'm going to take this over to the drill press once I get both wings laid out where I want them, and I'm going to drill some pilot holes and use some number 8 screws to screw them in place. All right, and there's our first set installed. So let me show you how the next set goes on, because it's a little different than this. Well, our next set of wings will get installed still on the body, but the way that these ones go, they're not straight like this. That looks silly. What they are is they're offset. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to find the best place for these here. You know what, that looks to be about it. So just like that, they kind of overlap, but they overlap in such a way as that they still have a gap at this end, but they're overlapped at this end. And because of those fan blades being angled, it really allows you to do that. Well, so that's just great. But either way, what we're going to do is we're going to line them both up here, get them the way that we want them. And once we're happy with their alignment, we can do the exact same thing. Mark those holes, we'll drill some pilot holes, and we will screw them into place. Well, at this point, you should have something that looks like this. This is awesome. Check this out. I love it. Okay, this is even cooler than I thought it was going to be. But what I'm going to do now, the last thing I want to do, you could take it as far as you want at this point in time. You could glue or drill holes here and add coat hanger, antennae if you want, or legs, or whatever you want to do. I like mine simple, just like this. So what I'm going to do at this point in time is I'm going to sand up the metal parts just to rough them up a bit, as well as the wings. I am going to give the whole thing a priming, and then I'm going to paint the entire thing flat black, because my idea, although a lot of them went through my head when I first had this concept, my idea at this point is to have a silhouette. So this will be kind of a three-dimensional silhouette on my wall in the backyard. So you know what? You don't need a video of me painting. I'm going to see you when this is done. And there you have it. A garden dragonfly. Guys, this thing turned out more awesome than I ever thought it could. I absolutely love this thing. I don't even know why I like it so much. I just really like it. Now, the best part about this, or one of the great things about it, is that it kept those fan blades and the brackets out of a landfill. Now, I know it's something small, but every little bit helps. So in this case, instead of the entire fan being pitched, the fan blades got a new home, and they turned into an awesome dragonfly, whereas the rest just became trash. So material here, what did we use? We used screws, 8 of them. I used some number 8 washers, and we used a piece of pine that was 3 inches wide and 20 inches long, and some paint. Other than that, it was just a little bit of our time on the scroll saw, and it was time well spent. I really love the way that the silhouette looks. Now, I had all kinds of thoughts when I first thought of doing this. I thought of scrolling out fretwork in each of the wings to make them look like they were veiny and that sort of thing. I was thinking about painting the body with airbrushing and shading, and I kind of was going crazy with it. And then I realized, you know what, maybe it's time to keep this one simple. And maybe just the silhouette is the way to go. And I'm happy that I did. I'm really glad that I did, because I think it looks great. I honestly believe that if I would have done the fretwork on the wings as I initially thought I was going to do, I think the weather would have kicked the living tar out of it, and it would have been garbage within no time flat. Now here's the thing. The body being pine, it's sealed with paint completely, so chances are it's going to last half decently. I don't know what the longevity of these plywood wings are going to be, because that's all they are. They're laminations, they're plywood. So the thing is that I kept the one wing. So if there's ever an issue and I need to replace a wing, I can do that, and then my Dragonfly is right back to normal. Either way, it's easily made for your garden, and you know what? Have some fun with it. The only pattern that I used in this entire thing is I downloaded a picture of a dragonfly looking down at the top, and I used that to sketch out a wing and that sort of thing. I didn't have any pattern. I just kind of went with what I thought looked good, and I think I nailed it. Guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in this week. This has been a load of fun. I really enjoyed this. You know what? I hope you enjoyed this content too. If you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel and click the bell, and then you won't miss notifications of future episodes of the program. We have a lot of fun here every Tuesday and Friday, and I hope that you're going to consider becoming a part of that. Guys, I hope that you've enjoyed today's project, something a little different, something a lot of fun. I hope that you're going to try this for yourself, and more importantly, I hope that you're going to join me again next week when I bring you yet another Alternative Tuesdays.